Hello, welcome to another episode of Sandie's Bookworms. Now, many of the bookworms that I've shared with you thus far address from one angle or another the questions that all of us ask ourselves. You know the ones I'm talking about. Who are we? Where did we come from? And why are we here? Today's bookworm, which comprises a body of work, which was originally referred to as the Eden Trilogy, but now includes a fourth book, examines those existential questions through a vastly different lens. The author of these books is a British-born, former senior churchman named Paul Anthony Wallis. Paul Anthony Wallis served as a church doctor and an archdeacon in the Anglican Church in Australia. A theological educator who designed training packages for Pentecostal pastors in the UK, Paul Wallis has been lecturing on the history of Christian thought and the principles of hermeneutics. I've got to get that pronunciation right. Hermeneutics for over 15 years. Hermeneutics is the theory and the methodology of interpretation, especially the interpretation of biblical texts, wisdom literature, and philosophical texts. Now, during his 33-year career in ministry, Paul Wallis published numerous well-received titles on Christian mysticism and spirituality. So you can imagine that when he switched from writing about traditional religion and released Escaping from Eden, the first book in his Eden trilogy, which expanded the existential dialogue to include the questions: who created us? Who or what is God? And what have the world's governments, churches, and militaries been keeping from us about our origins as a species and our true potential? You'll understand that he didn't do it lightly. He knew he was opening himself to ridicule and to putting his reputation on the line. The Eden series lifts the lid on a nearly 2,000-year-old taboo. The familiar canon of stories in the book of Genesis affirm that God made the universe, planet Earth, Adam and Eve, and you and me. However, Wallis points out, the very presence in those stories of the holy name of God, not revealed until the time of Moses, clues us that we are not reading the original version of these stories. So what was wrong with the original versions that they had to be almost obliterated from the Hebrew canon in the 6th century BC and suppressed from Christian writing in the 2nd century AD? And why was that suppression finally lifted by the Vatican in 2009? Wallis's research reveals that many secrets lie hidden in the world's ancestral narratives. He travelled to many countries and spoke to many indigenous elders and wisdom keepers, and he found the same root stories expressed in different cultures all around the world that matched stories found in the Old Testament, which describe entities that we would interpret or that we would identify as ETs. And the most frequently recurring story in ancestral narratives is to do with hybridization. But it's important to note that he also found many stories of beautiful, benevolent beings who want to support our survival and evolution. Book 1, Escaping from Eden, does Genesis teach that the human race was created by God or engineered by ETs, was held by George Noory as this generation's chariots of the gods. Book 2, The Scars of Eden, has humanity confuse the idea of God with memories of ET contact, which is endorsed by Erich von Daniken, shines a light on revelations from the US Navy, the Pentagon, French and Israeli intelligence, disclosed. And Book 3, Echoes of Eden, what secrets of human potential were buried with our ancestors' memories of ET, explores a number of similar topics, but also includes briefings in Washington, D.C., secret ceremonies in southern Africa, from strange phenomena in Australia and Iraq to mysterious encounters in modern Brazil and ancient Greece. It also examines why military intelligence and other government agencies are so interested in archaeology, indigenous rituals, and traditional initiation practices. And it delves into the connection between higher cognitive power, like remote viewing and precognition, to answer questions like, what secrets surrounding human potential lie hidden in the world's forbidden books and ancestral narratives? And why were they buried? Have we been deliberately degraded, dumbed down, cut off from our innate higher cognitive powers? How does any of this connect with an ancient ET presence on Earth? And here's a strange one. Why do contactees and experiences become driven by ecological concerns? And what are the implications for you and me? Well, Paul Wallis, as I said, has now released book 4 in the series, and this book is called The Eden Conspiracy, Ancient Memories of ET Contact and the Bible Before God, which addresses the questions: what were the world's ancestral stories before they became viewed as fiction and fable? What was the Bible before it became a book about God? And if the Bible was not about God, what was it that our ancestors wanted us to know? In researching the Eden Conspiracy, Wallis visited archaeological sites in the Levant, which hold clues of ancient experiences of close encounters, and he also sat at the feet of world-class scholars and senior figures in military intelligence whose privileged information concerns the hidden layers of covert government in the deep past and in the present day, along with evidence of ancient ET contact. The Eden Conspiracy also reveals forgotten secrets about human progress, political power, emotional intelligence, and human potential. Paul Wallis lifts the lid on why this layer of information was edited and translated out of the Bible. Who made these changes? How? When? And with what agenda? And how can we recover our ancestors' wisdom and build a better future? I'm going to read to you a little bit from Paul Wallis' book. My learning journey has been a continual experience of crossing cultural boundaries and breaking cultural taboos. What I am piecing together has to do with the story of humanity as the dominant race on planet Earth. It touches on our origins as a species and our human potential in the present. The picture that emerges has enormous implications for our lives as individuals and our survival as a civilization. And the further I journey, the clearer it becomes why, through the ages, this information has been so actively hidden. The biblical stories which we have told for so long as good stories are actually based on the Sumerian and other Mesopotamian stories. This is something Bible scholars have known since the 1800s, when the Mesopotamian cuneiforms were first translated. In the 1890s, papers published by Colgate University and Cornell University's Nathaniel Schmidt made even clearer the Bible's dependence on the information carried by the literature of ancient Mesopotamian cultures. When the Bible's language is translated according to root meanings, it becomes clear as day that the biblical writers did not in fact reject the Sumerian, Babylonian, Akkadian, and Assyrian stories after all. They reaffirmed them. And those reaffirmed stories are not God stories. They are our ancestors' memories of colonization by extraterrestrial Why do so many cultures report that our distant ancestors were ruled over by non-human entities? Plato presented the world with very similar conclusions about our history as a species 2.5 millennia ago. In the first 2 centuries of Christianity, church fathers like Justin Martyr, Clement of Alexandria, and Marcion absolutely embraced Plato's world view, and they read the Bible through the lens of paleocontact. They argued that the Hebrew scriptures, what Christians now call the Old Testament, include narratives of advanced beings which are neither human nor divine. They are something else, and they did not originate on Earth. My work is in paleocontact, the theory that in the deep past our ancestors had contact with ET civilizations. Yet the ancestral story which I have heard from Native American and Aboriginal Australian peoples is that the very first conversations their distant ancestors enjoyed with helpers from the stars revolved around how to live on this planet in balance with nature. What plants were good for food? Which were good to avoid? Which other plants were good for medicines? And which could help heighten their intelligence and consciousness? And how to live off these plants without depleting them. Now, we've been hearing for a number of years that disclosure is very imminent. Stephen Greer has been a thorn in the side of those who believe the public can't handle the truth for decades. The former director of space programs for the Israeli Ministry of Defense publicly declared a few years ago that the USA and Israel have been in contact with alien life forms representing a galactic federation, and Donald Trump knows about it. And just a few weeks ago, the US government launched a new website, which not only shows 8 videos of what they won't call UFOs, but instead now label UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, but it also provides a place for military pilots and others to upload details of their own anomalous sightings. Whether we will get full disclosure anytime soon is anyone's guess. But if you're uncertain, or even just plain curious about these topics, while you're waiting for proof that Earthlings are not the only sentient beings in the universe, consider checking out Paul Wallison's Eden series. Make up your own mind. At the moment, I do not have Paul Wallis's Eden series featured on the No BS Spiritual Book Club's website, and thus I cannot send you to a page where you can download some free excerpts. I will be doing that in the near future. But I have conducted 4 hour-long interviews with Paul on his research on each of his books, which you can find on the What Is Going On show playlist on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Sandie Sedgbeer/streams. And you can check out more of my favourite bookworms and download free audios, videos and book excerpts of these in the Bookworms section of the No BS Spiritual Book Club. Paul Wallis is the host of the Fifth Kind TV, which is a partner channel with Gaia TV. And Fifth Kind TV features his interviews and documentaries that are watched by millions of people worldwide. You can learn more about his books, his movies, documentaries, healing and coaching services, and more at his website, paulanthonywallis.com, and also at youtube.com/C/The Fifth Kind. And finally, if you find these bookworms interesting enough to purchase, I'd love to know what you think about them. So don't be afraid to share your feedback. You can contact me through my website at sedgbeer.com. That's it for this month. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back again next month with another of Sandie's Bookworms. Till then, be well, be safe, and be happy.